Hey folks, okay, so first up, you'll be able to see the overlays are all messed up and Lavender's not here. We're still going ahead with the session, but Lavender is not going to be joining us today. And whilst I fix everything up going on OBS, one of my fine companions here is going to, well, all of my fine companions here, other than myself, because I'm not my own companion, that's nonsense, will entertain you in the interim. Begin.
Oh, such
Hello.
pressure.
Yeah, how can we live up to the high standard that has been set?
Well,
What do we talk about? How does this work? Who are we? Where am I?
We could talk about, like, we could give an intro to ourselves and go into more
Yeah.
in-depth stuff we're working on. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that people maybe not everyone here knows us.
Yeah. Do you want to start, Melody?
Sure. I'm Melody. I am a games person. I write for games. I play games. I was playing in like 5 weekly games earlier this year, and that's gone down to like 2 now or something. So it feels very strange. Apart from that, I'm a historian, an editor. Yeah, I take photos. I do a bunch of different things. Recently I ran a game at a convention in Canberra called On Mighty Wheels, which is about the Russian Revolution. It was very fun, and we had it like set up like a theater kind of show. So me and Wildwood Games, Luke, who's in the chat there, got to like sit in the audience and like do audience participation, give applause and like boo, and the bad guys came on screen.
nice.
Yeah, it was really fun. Everyone had a very good time. I'm running that in Melbourne in January too at ArcanaCon. So,
Ooh.
if you want to play it there, please do.
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Let's go next. Brandon, do you want to go next?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I am slowly realizing that I do a lot of things.
That's great.
I am a writer, poet, working on my own game right now. I have been busy for the past few weeks, doing a lot of performances with a local performance poetry group called the Two Cents Movement. We've been doing a 20 school national school tour during Trinidad and Tobago's National Patriotism Month, and it's lots of fun because it's a story about a group of teenagers who realize that a lunchbox in their detention room is actually a time machine. But it's also
Cool.
exhausting. It's also really tiring. So like I'm still recovering from that. So if I'm sniffling or you see me pass out, it's because that's a thing that's been happening. But I'm here, and I'm really excited for Seneca, who's not really Seneca, to do a lot of really weird things.
So am I.
Nice.
I think everyone's sick in some way then.
I know. Yeah.
So I do apologize, everyone on stream, but we are all unwell.
So, I guess I'll go next. So, hey, I'm Alex. I do game design in my spare time. I'm about to graduate from my game design degree. Yay! Finally. I do a lot of Discord community management stuff, which is all of like surrounded around like Australian, New Zealand game communities. I have a project that I'm kind of excited to talk about. I haven't got all the stuff online, but it will be coming up in the next few months. But I am currently working on entitled horror outback game set in Australia, drawing a lot of inspiration from like 1920s mining towns with a bunch of cool history associated with that. So I'm very, very excited to like slowly be sharing the designs I'm doing for that. There's lots of crazy creatures and lots of really interesting stuff around that. So apart from that, that's kind of me at the moment, being preoccupied trying to finish my degree. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Sounds actually really intriguing.
Yeah. Well, how did that happen? You became Melody for a second.
There's 2 melodies.
No, yeah. I mean, normally this would be awesome, but it's a nightmare at the moment.
It looks like you've got it pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll just go. Oh goodness! All right. Well,
This is great. I don't have the video like stream open, so I just my imagination's going wild right now.
Well, it started off really good, and then we switched the
Uh-huh.
screen, and
Yeah.
now it's a nightmare.
now it's a nightmare.
Right.
Now it is
yeah.
the end of time.
Yeah.
But it's
Everything
fine.
is collapsed.
Wow, 2018, end of times.
End of time. You know,
Who would've thought?
get it over and done with quick, I guess. But
I didn't think that the end time would come from Twitch, but like
I
I guess I
did.
should have
I'm
proceeded.
not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be Reddit. Like,
well,
Mhm.
I mean, Lavena's not here, but Lavena's like actually making a game about that. So
Okay.
you know,
good point.
so,
Yeah.
That's why Lavender's not here.
damn it, Lavender.
The ultimate game promotion.
Uh-huh.
That's like next level.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should say what I've been up to, which is I've been doing a lot of writing. I'm now writing full time, not in video games, now in tabletop games. I am still not sure if I can talk fully about it, but I can say what I'm doing, which is the writing. And a bunch of my writing stuff will be coming out soon. So that's cool. And when that's out, surely I'll be able to talk about it then, because it will be purchasable. And it would be kind of ridiculous to assume that I can't. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Excitement.
Sorry?
I'm
Excitement.
excited to hear these things.
I'm excited for them to be released, to be honest. But it's gonna be good. All right, I think everyone is vaguely in the right spot.
It appears so.
All right, cool. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so I have no idea what we've done, so I'm just gonna start again. Hi everyone, I'm Ben Cherry. I'm a Maltese Australian game designer. This is the Doskvol Circulation War. We haven't played for just over a month, so things will be a little bit rusty, but we're going to get straight back into it. Last session ended abruptly because of some technical difficulties on my end. I had a blackout, which was interesting, but we actually kind of faded out in a very weird way on a semi-natural endpoint, which was, if you'll remember, the end of the first part of our first proper score, and then transitioning into a nested linked score within that. The first score was encountering Ulf Ironborn and attempting to convince him to sort of like be a good neighbor, and that ended up kind of straying into the territory of Ulf hiring the Keeners to become I don't know, agitators on staff, I guess, to rile up the folk of Coleridge, and try and get them better wages so that they could be better customers. But in exchange, he's going to supply the Keeners with more boots on the ground and some folks to actually hawk their goods. So it's kind of win-win. And Sabine very aptly noted that it might be a case of having to kill Ulf in the future. But we'll get to that second part, the nested linked score, after we do crew XP and character XP, because we didn't get a chance to do that at the end of last session. Because Lav's not here, we're going to also run through the XP for Stavral, and do gut calls on that, because we should be able to figure it out, because most of the action that happened last session was all together, except for one brief but very hilarious scene with Sabine and her spy contact in the Skovs. So That was. I actually rewatched the episode today and it was very, very funny. Cool. All right. So, should we start with? Oh, this is an interesting one. Because we have Seneca and possessed Seneca, who gets XP? I guess possessed Seneca, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I kind of already worked out how we solve that problem when Seneca returns. So yeah.
Okay.
But
Cool. I'm keen to hear that when Seneca returns, which I guess will be at the end of this score. Yeah, cool, awesome. All right, so Brandon, do you want to read out your XP triggers and we can talk through them?
okay. Every time you roll a desperate action, mark XP in that action's attribute.
Those are done in the moment, and I don't think, just looking through the chat log, I don't think there were any desperate actions from...
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're fine on that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, at the end of each session, mark 1 XP if you addressed a challenge with deception or in influence.
I think you definitely used your influence, but I don't know if it was necessarily a challenge.
Uh-huh.
You were definitely influencing Kane.
That was a thing.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't successful because of Ulf's particular orientation, but you did...
I was going to mention that one
Yeah,
as
you
well.
did attempt to deceive Ulf, so I think you definitely get at least one.
Yeah, I don't think I did much else. So I think that's the only thing that, like, really counts.
I don't know, like, I feel like your connection with Kane was still kind of expressed. Because that's kind of been a motivating force behind possessed Seneca.
Yeah, I think that might be the next one, though. I think that might be beliefs drives heritage of background.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about in general.
No, just the first, the second trigger. Yeah. So
Okay.
I think you get one for that. I think that makes sense.
Okay. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. As previously stated, yes, every time I frustrate Kane, that's definitely a belief. I'm sorry. Kane's gonna have a hard time forever.
I just read your note, which is, I'm here to take care of my lover's body and fuck, in brackets, with Kane.
Which I think is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's especially relevant for this one, I think.
Yeah. I definitely think you get one. Are there any other moments that you think you hit on there?
Was there anything that came up when we were talking to the demon at the beginning of the game? I can't remember exactly everything that happened there, but I do remember there was a whole scene there.
I don't know
Yeah.
if Seneca necessarily did anything impactful then.
Yeah. So the thing that happened with Red Weather was that Red Weather essentially like became your patron in a way, like not to the point where you got the patron upgrade, but just sort of Red Weather introduced themselves to you and offered to pay you for advanced copies and like the ability to basically get information about your scurrilous activities around the city, or at least those that you're going to print.
I love that, like, it was basically this demon shows up and like is making teacups float around and things, and just goes, "Hello, I really like your newspaper. I want the first copy of every edition."
It's just a mega fan. It's
He's just like more sophisticated fanboy. It's
exactly.
That's really it.
That's all it is.
A sophisticated fanboy who can fuck with us.
Yeah. And who said some pretty worrying things about the nature of the city of Doskvol, but maybe we'll find out more about that. Who knows? Yeah, but I don't think Seneca did any more in that moment. So just one for that, do you reckon?
I would. In fact, I was actually going to argue another thing. Given that Nyrix's trade is just naturally the business of seduction, can we technically argue that literally everything that she did in that session counts as like exploiting her background as well?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm asking, but I think it's still one, but I'm asking just to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, so okay, I don't think so, but I do think that every time you touch on that, it counts as struggling with issues from your vice or traumas if that becomes in any way difficult, because like this is that very fine line between being a seductress and being an escort, right? Like your escort is your job, right? It's not necessarily what you do for fun, if that makes sense. Like yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it's kind of like it's sort of a core central part of your character. So I think it's only really relevant when it poses, as Ben said, significant challenges or impacts it in a really what happens in a really significant way. So I think as an overarching thing, yes, but I don't know if it necessarily will always count as like extra XP for that. It's a good thing to bring up, though.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these triggers are based on what you think happened. So if you think, actually, looking at it now, the wording is you expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background, and you did express that. Like you in a very real sense, like Nyrix continues to put her body on the line, right? So for the material gain of the crew. So I do think that counts. I do think that you hit that twice. And then would get one more point for struggling with issues from your vice or traumas during the session, because that whole situation with Ulf could have gone pretty bad, and you really tested the waters and pushed things quite far with Kane when you were like really trying to get Kane to engage with Ulf, and
especially knowing that could have gone horribly wrong based upon Kane's like general social appearance and how they navigate their situations. So that like you did that fully aware that it was very likely that Kane was going to fuck up dramatically.
Yeah. So I think you get 4 XP for that session, if that makes sense to you.
It does.
Beautiful. Alrighty, who is next? Let's go with Sabine. I think you're muted, Melody.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
No worries.
So, address a challenge with tracking or violence. No.
Yeah, not yet.
Unless like we can make a case that I had to like track down a person to work with, like because we didn't know Ulf was the person we were gonna deal with. We had to kind of do some investigation and find out who is kind of a mover and shaker and worth talking to.
But yeah, like that's the key difference there. Like, you know, how closely we do associate tracking and investigation.
Yeah, true.
Key terms. I don't know if it was like any kind of like real hunt as a sense to kind of find that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it was more just like asking the right questions in the right places and that kind of thing.
The right people.
Yeah.
Don't think it was necessarily like going for that hunt per se, which I think is more in line with this is kind of implying. But I mean, there'd be a case argued against that, sure.
I mean, it sounds reasonable to me. What are you thinking, Ben?
Yeah, I don't know if it counts as tracking, but I definitely think that everything you did with everything that you did with Valorous would definitely hit on expressing your background.
Yes, yeah.
Because, like, you know, they're a Skov spy, and you definitely like were playing on your old military contacts and stuff like that. So, so yeah, I don't think that you hit the first trigger last session. I think you might this session, depending on what happens with this next plan. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think for the second one, I think I think I got that one twice because there was the getting information and then when we were dealing with Ulf as well.
yes,
and
yeah.
kind of
Absolutely.
trading on that background.
Yeah.
Oh,
for
that's
sure.
right. Yeah, because you specifically like tried to use like the correct words and really got into the fact that he is a Skov instead of just some random crime boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely
That's
two for that
definitely
one.
Cool. And vice or traumas. I don't think it came up.
Did it come up during the demon meeting? I don't.
During the what? Sorry.
Were you, because is there a way that you kind of acted, like your behavior in that moment, that would have reflected that? I can't quite remember.
So during the meeting with Redweather, you were the most proactive in terms of like saying yes to the patronage and diving into all of that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily know if if that counts as struggled with issues.
No, yeah, I don't think at this point. I think that it was almost again the belief drives heritage or background.
Super important to this session.
Yeah. So I'll just go with the 2 XP.
Okay, beautiful. And then we have we've already done Seneca. Let's do Kane, and then we'll go back to Stavral,
Sure.
and figure that out.
So you addressed a challenge with knowledge or arcane power. I don't really see a case for this. It depends on how we like interpret knowledge, but yes.
No, you did.
Yeah.
Because when when Kane pulled out the spirit vials,
Right,
and like used the one thing you're confident about to become confident with Ulf, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, like this is my leverage kind of thing. Right, yeah, no, I totally remember that. Yeah, for sure.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Very like quick thinking on your feet, sort of like, yeah. I in a TV show moment, that would have been like the really. That would have been the music change where we would have heard like Kane's theme slip in when like Kane realizes, oh no, this is how I can take charge of the situation. So yeah, totally get an XP for that.
Sure, that's not bad. So you expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Yeah. I think definitely again regarding that speech, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't know if I did any other time.
I think we can count hitting on the fact that you're from like immigrant labor background, because like Kane specifically made a point of getting like kind of aggressively pissed at Ulf when Ulf was talking about how like how it's kind of good for business being in Coleridge and everyone being a bit downtrodden, and Kane went off in a bit of like a, no, people are just fucking sick of it because it sucks living like this. And that could have gone bad, right? Like that.
Oh, like absolutely.
So you did not have to express that. So I definitely think you hit on that one.
Take 2 then? Do you think it's justified to take 2? That's another question.
Yeah.
They both happened in the same space of time.
Yeah, but I think that they're exploring different facts and different like areas of who you are, and they each brought up their own complications. So I think it counts to get 2.
Sure. So 2. And the last one is, you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during the session. I would say that like. This is kind of an interesting one. I don't have any traumas.
Yeah.
Vice is being weird, and I don't know if I necessarily struggled with it. And in fact, I think I kind of like used it as a bracing point to kind of leap up from that. So I don't think it was necessarily a struggle. The only thing I really struggled with was, of course, interacting with Seneca, but that doesn't fall under vice or traumas, I think. So I don't know if I take an XP for that.
Yeah. I don't think you hit on that one. At least I can't remember
Uh,
a point.
there was a moment with Demon where I was like, do not interact. I'm super cautious, but I don't think that impacted the scenario in any significant way.
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of like, this is obviously a stopping point for me, but I didn't significantly impact how that changed.
I think,
based upon that, so.
I think that would count more towards expressing your beliefs, which you've already marked 2 for. Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, no,
We have time today for you to struggle with some weird shit. I'm sure, based on what you were suggesting, the party might do next. I will be very interested to see how you struggle with some weird shit. But there's time. Beautiful. Okay, so Stavral, and we won't assign this XP. We'll just put it down in the notes. But let's have a look. So did Stavral address a challenge with calculation or conspiracy?
Was the situation with the demon calculated for his responses? I think he kind of took a back seat this whole time.
Yeah.
Until what was going on, because it kind of was outside of the scope, but also he was still kind of a little bit sort of feeling the hungoverness from the method acting situation for the previous missions.
Yeah. There was a point though. Stavral smuggled in a bunch of gear. Didn't have to use it, but smuggled in a bunch of gear to the meeting with Ulf Ironborn, hidden within several boxes of board games, with the intention of playing them at the bar. And was very careful to always have them on hand and always have them within reach. So I think that counts as a little bit of conspiracy. So I think one point for that.
Yeah. I forgot how ridiculous that was.
Yeah,
that's perfect for 1 XP.
It was so silly.
The board game thing was really puzzling.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. All right. So the next trigger is express beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. There was a moment where oh no, that's Vice. Sorry. Was the beliefs, drives, heritage, or background brought up?
Was there something about the whole weather control thing, and that being something to do with the background, the island background, or was that? Yeah, or was that from a previous session?
I think that was a previous session when well, no, that was last session. That was right at the beginning of last session. Yeah, Lavender was asking about whether or not the weather was fluctuating because, wow, I've said weather so many times. Whether or not the weather was fluctuating because red weather was present, which it wasn't. But they still made sure to use that as a gauge. So I think that counts. So +1 XP, red weather. Red weather affected the weather. It's the worst sentence I've ever wrote. I hate it.
It's a very good sentence. I don't know why you don't like it.
It's a very worthy sentence.
Yeah, well. And did Stavral struggle with issues from vice or traumas? So Stavral does have a trauma, which is haunted. I don't think they struggled from that, but I do think that they struggled from their vice because Sabine, when Ulf asked you where you had heard word, word on the street about Ulf, you specifically used the club, and then when Stavral had to explain what music was going on there and stuff, and Ulf just wasn't into it. That could have gone badly.
Yeah.
They definitely carried on way past
Yeah.
when they should have stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, that totally could have got us in trouble. Because
Mm.
Ulf was the kind of person who, like, if he was really bored, would have just.
Oh,
kicked
yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just beaten the crap out of everyone, you know, like
zero patience.
yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. We can always ask Lavender at the beginning of next session if they think anything was missed. Cool. All right. So let's quickly do crew XP, and then we will get into the meat of things. Excuse me. All right. Who wants to handle the adding of XP here?
Anyone?
I'm happy to do it.
Okay. So do you want to read out the XP triggers and then we can have a discussion? You muted.
I believe you're muted,
Yeah.
Melody.
So, there we go. So, yes. First one is acquire product supply, execute clandestine/covert sales, or secure new territory. I mean, I don't
I don't
think.
think so.
I mean, actually, we do this at the end of each session, don't we? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe what's going to happen at the end of this job,
Yeah.
but didn't happen at the end of the session.
Yeah, we haven't resolved the first score yet. So yeah, I don't think yet, but that might hit twice at the end of this one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Next one is contend with challenges above your current station. I mean, what tier is Ulf?
Ulf is tier 1, so which is technically higher station than you because you were tier 0, which, you know.
I want to suggest we did that for like 1 XP because it was a risky gamble that could have turned very sour.
Oh, no, it's 2. It's 2. Totally.
Cool.
Because
there was red weather?
No. Oh, well, yeah, I forgot about Red Weather. More because the way you dealt with Ulf was by invoking Master Slane's name and saying that you're going to fuck him over, and then making that devil's bargain of saying, if you fail Ulf's job, Ulf's going to turn you in straight away, right?
Oh.
So you've already contended with
forgot
Slane. It just, you know, you just now actually have to do the contention, the easy part of the deal, right? So definitely 2 for that, definitely.
Cool. Awesome. 2 for that one. So we've almost leveled up.
Yeah.
Next one is bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. I don't think so.
Don't think so. I mean, we didn't really bolster ourselves in the eyes of how do you pronounce his name again?
Ulf?
I mean,
Yeah.
I did like fairly explicitly, not necessarily with everyone's knowledge, but like I did tie us to like the Skovlan consulate or embassy or whatever it is, and their like espionage shenanigans. So our reputation is subversive. So, but maybe like that's still like kind of secret, so it might not have bolstered our reputation as such.
Well, I mean, it's secret as far as you telling Ulf, a notorious blabbermouth and braggart, right? Like, so who knows exactly how secret that's going to be for too much longer. I'm wondering though if you didn't create a new reputation in addition to subversive, because maybe you haven't created it yet, but the fact that you've stated something so bold that you're gonna do, I feel like that's quite a if you achieve this goal and you actually like throw mud on the name of Slane like you said you were going to do to Ulf, you definitely will get the reputation like reliable or
Luke suggested daring as one option.
yeah, exactly, right. I think you'll get daring if you succeed at this, or at
Yeah.
least show that you're willing to put in the hustle. Because at the moment you're essentially hot air to Ulf, right? Like he doesn't really have any reason to believe you, or really even to care if he
What
should
happens
believe you,
to
right?
us.
Yeah,
I think
'cause-
he's just kind of like mildly interested at best.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
really, there's only been like tangible results, as you said. So
because even if he does throw you under the bus, you are such a small deal at the moment that it doesn't really give him anything if he throws you under the bus yet, right? Yeah. So I at the moment I don't think you get any bump in reputation. You definitely get the 1 XP, and you might earn a new reputation at the end of this session.
okay,
Cool. That sounds great.
level up.
Yeah, so I'll finish doing the XP first, though. Express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew. I mean, I feel like this. I mean, like, I feel like we express the essential nature in that, like, what we're doing has all been very, like, kind of specifically politically driven, in line with our goals. Because we need to like establish ourselves in order to actually like get our word out there and that kind of thing. And we're willing to take pretty drastic measures to achieve that. So I want to say at least one for that, and then I mean I think there's also some element of the inner conflict in terms of Nyrix and Co, but I can't remember how much that kind of specifically came up last session.
Well, there's also the nature. So I just looked at Weaver's Kids, and it reminded me of like the fact that you're now essentially you've made a deal with someone who is not gonna have the best interests of the people you're trying to help at heart, right?
Yeah.
Like you've made a deal with a very bad person to try and do better, but you've definitely already stepped on that slippery slope of being corrupt, right? Like so.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty core inner conflict of the group. So I can see two points there. Depends on what you folks think.
I'm pretty okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So two more. So we leveled up and then we'll just remember two more.
Yeah.
I'll jot it down now. Cool. So we leveled up. Woohoo!
Excellent.
Should we sort that out now? Or?
Yeah. Let's do that now. So you can spend that on getting a special ability, or I believe a crew upgrade.
So we can get one special ability or two other things, like 2 points to spend on other things.
Right. Okay.
So if we choose to spend it on not a special ability, then for instance, we could take like hidden for our lair, and we could also take quarters, or we could get a new cohort, but a new cohort costs 2. So
I think it's kind of interesting at this point because some of the abilities are like super useful for us, but super useful for us not right now. I believe like having cursor against of these abilities, I think they would be much more impactful once we've got that decent distribution out. I don't necessarily think we have that yet, so I think it like just kind of coming from this perspective, it might be just better to build our lair and build what we can there. Probably first to be a bit more safe, especially now that we're kind of entered a territory of if things go wrong, we're in a lot of personal danger.
Yeah, especially now that you have enemies who, or at least potential enemies or potential allies who want to know where you are, right? Like Ulf was specifically asking, like trying to wheedle out of
what our
you
turf is.
where your turf is. Red Weather has now shown up, right? Like Red Weather's just is sniffing around. So if Red Weather can find you, who else can find you, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Plus, you were talking about maybe wanting to get some quarters in the lair.
Oh yeah.
So that it's a bit more
Center.
secured and centralized. Yeah, I can see there being a lot of value into going some upgrades.
I mean, unless anyone has a. Oh, sorry. You go.
Oh no, that's. I was just gonna say we could just go then, like, get a second point of secure maybe, and get quarters or get hidden and get quarters. Luke also suggested we could take the patron thing to represent the fact that we do sort of have the patronage of Red Weather. But I guess I'm not sure how that is gonna, like, so Red Weather was like, I'll pay you if you do this stuff, right? Is that gonna have like is that gonna be represented mechanically? If so, should we take patron to represent that?
Well, at the moment, it's purely in the fiction. It essentially means that every time you release something, Red Weather will know, and Red Weather will be like well appraised of it. So if there's anything that you are putting in your writing which is like sensitive, that's stuff that's already known, right? And it just sort of represents a general, like, Red Weather is aware of what's happening and has eyes in on your operation. And that you have a source of coin if you want to take it. You actually should have gotten an additional coin for literally accepting the coin from him. So I'll just add that now. But yeah, cool. So if you want to make it, if you want to make the patronage official, then that might be represented in the fact that, like, maybe Red Weather starts writing for you, or has an opinion column, or there's an Ask Red Weather section of, like, a bit of a mail-in.
That's such a good idea.
Or even that, Red Weather gets like, there's a little printed above the hard times, a little, like, from the officers of Red Weather, kind of shit like that. Red Weather seems like a bit of a stuffed shirt who would love that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I guess it's like, how much do we want to tie ourselves to Red Weather at this point then? Like, are we still cautious, or do we want to just go all in?
I believe because it's kind of like an unofficial narrative thing, maybe we just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
I believe we've got the affordance to wait because it's already invested. And kind of glancing through the rest of the abilities, apart from Ghost Market, which sounds really interesting. Coming back to that thing, like, I don't think, like, apart from Ghost Market and Patron, I don't think there's anything super useful right now.
Oh, Silver Tongues, I think would be good to get at some point.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm up for getting quarters and something else if people want to do that.
I kind of want to argue from the semi-narrative perspective that, additionally to everything that has already been mentioned, the fact that Red Weather already knows where we are, the fact that Ulf wants to know where we are, we should also consider the fact that we have a printing press that does not belong to us. And we don't want to have to get in a big mess with the ink rakes very quickly. So
that is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we get hidden then?
I think so. I think it's like the safest way to preserve ourselves, really.
Yeah.
With all these factors considered.
Because our lair is kind of like tucked away in, like, there's no indications from the outside that it's our lair, so we wouldn't have to do a lot narratively to make it hidden. We would just have to, construct some, like, probably fake facades, like, relabel it, and that kind of stuff. And maybe, like, make a show of we're moving somewhere else for anyone who does think they know where we are.
Okay. Idle question. How does hidden work, both mechanically and narratively? And what I mean by that is it possible that we could, like, have a front office that people think does something else. Like a portion of the front that is like a bookshop or something like that. And that's what people think that building is. The rest of that building is a
Yeah, I think that was kind of like the facade thing that Melody mentioned. Have you just thought of something really?
So my mind jumped to when you said bookshop, I'm like, oh, it could be like you know, we could do a silly like black book style thing, and then I was like, but we couldn't have the PCs be the ones like staffing the bookshop, because then everyone would know. And then I was like, the children, but they're kids. And then I thought, oh, we'll just put in Ulf's boots on the ground. So now I'm just imagining these like massive like gang toughs, just like like really going ham on the black books like, imagery. And it's very silly in my mind. We don't have to do that, but it's very funny.
I was gonna say another good point to mention with hidden. Does that kind of like, will that affect red weather? So like if we choose to, can we then remain hidden from him?
Yeah, I mean that's up to you. We
Well,
can.
Kind of a question.
Yeah, so the text of hidden is that your lair has a secret location and is disguised to hide it from view. If your lair is discovered, use 2 downtime activities and pay coin equal to your tier to relocate it and hide it once again. When you take it, I will accept that you can hide it from red weather if you so choose, and like red weather just shows up the next time and is like, oh, there's a bookshop here now. And then, you know, we might see red weather like, you know, walking around the city trying to find your new lair. But obviously, you know, that's kind of breaking a promise to a demon. So, you know.
Yeah, red weather's not the one I'm worried about. Like,
Yeah.
the first time, I'm sure he can find us again if he really wants to. I'm just more worried about, like, Slane's people, the Inkrate, the church, like, mundane kind of forces.
Oh, yeah, you pissed off the church.
I think we're, like...
so many enemies for a magazine, for a newspaper that only has one issue. We've been a lot of enemies.
Yeah. And,
You were
like,
gonna
to
say,
be
yeah?
honest, I kind of just like, I like red weather knowing where we are. I like, so far I don't have any reason to like, even though it's, you know, he's a demon, like, I kind of like having him around. And I don't really have any reason to, like, thus far distrust him, except for the fact that Kane personally is just like, demon. But like, the rest of us are kind of just like, all right, this is weird, but sure. With the extra support, so we don't really see him as a threat as such yet, or an enemy.
Yeah. Well, let's just go with something. I mean, sounds like we're all on board with hidden, even if we still have to figure out what that means narratively.
Yeah.
And let's go with quarters. I mean, it's like an old kind of warehouse space, isn't it? It's got room for us to do quarters. We just have to like move some beds in and like construct some walls and things like that.
Yeah. And I quite like the idea of like setting up a petition at the front and have like the bookshop kind of deal, and then have the secret printing press out the back, and totally. It could even be like not necessarily a bookshop, but like a book distributor, like not a storefront. We're not having randoms come in. It's just like it's a book distributor, but no one ever seems to go there. But like also no one's paying attention because it's a book distributor.
Not relevant to like the general public, so they
exactly
pay attention.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. I will tick those ones.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hidden and quarters. Cool.
Sweet. Go team us. I think that's all the XP stuff then.
Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah.
All right. So, where we left off last time, the party had just discussed the possibility of as part of the linked score and I cannot believe I'm repeating this, to try and infiltrate the offices of the Dunville Company with the intention to fake some internal documentation from them which suggested that they were doing a pay rise to all of their warehouse, like their work staff, like a general pay rise to everyone, and then to implicate Slane in the knowledge of that, so that when you leak that to the general public, it will appear like even though the company will know that that's all bullshit, it will appear like Slane has been holding back on that pay rise and has instead been skimming off the top. So it will kind of put everyone in the process in hot water in some way because the company is kind of forced to do it. Slane is forced to take the flack, and the people are pissed off that they are getting underpaid and might lynch Slane. Who knows? I hope not. But, we'll see. So, yeah, that was the general plan as far as I was aware. Is that still what you folks are thinking?
Hey, let's go with it. We made that decision last game. Let's follow through.
Okay.
No way this can possibly go wrong. We make very good decisions.
Yeah. We just like to point out we do not have our method actor with us for this. So if we do get ourselves in hot water, maybe with a confrontation, it'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because you don't have Stavral, maybe a more like clandestine approach is warranted.
Yeah.
But let's go to the score. So to do a score, and because it's an acid score, we just do the same process again. So you folks need to make the decision between it being an assault, a deception, a stealth, an occult operation, a social operation, or a transport operation.
Can we gather information first?
Sure.
So whatever plan we go with, it's gonna depend on us, like, in getting into the building, right?
I guess. We don't yet know where Dunville, like the Dunville company is.
Yeah, that's what I want to find out. Do some recon kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there is the Dunville's biggest operation is in Coleridge. And they also have some stuff going on in Dunslow. They own a massive labor camp that is staffed by the prisoners of Ironhook Prison. But the Dunville family is massive, to the point where there's like one of the main preceptors in the Church of the Ecstasy of the Flesh is a Dunville. One of the city councillors is a Dunville. I'm pretty certain one of the high up captains of the Bluecoats is a Dunville. They're a very old noble family, and their roots go really deep. To the point where, if they're the biggest miners and the biggest like industrialists in Coleridge, and Coleridge is the original site of what like the first settlement of Doskvol was, the Dunvilles might actually be like the oldest imperial family in the city, which is concerning. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of where they might be stationed. Yeah, okay, so you want to do some recon, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to get some scope for like what we are up against in a physical kind of sense.
Yeah, I definitely have.
Like we know that they're big, but like where do we go? That kind of stuff. How would we get in? Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, like, where are these records stored?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, who wants to do what? Tell me your tactic, and like this can be in the most broadest sense. Like it could be Sabine saying, "I'm going to sneak around and try and find it," right? Like, or Seneca asks around, or whatever it is. How do you want to go about finding out where they are and what kind of weaknesses you're going to exploit.
I definitely do think that Seneca does ask around, but I think that her specific plan is to essentially go back to work, to go back to the brothel, and mock folks that she knows work for the Dunville Company and try to get that information.
Okay.
Cool.
Kind of
Okay.
thinking,
That's
oh, sorry.
sorry. No, go for it.
I don't think like in this situation Kane is very out of their depth, and I was thinking about suggesting perhaps kind of like doing a sort of general reading on like because like you can kind of get a sense of like how long energy and spiritual energy has existed for. So we're talking about the oldest essentially family in the region. There might be some kind of like traces of previous people that might share the same sentiment as like a typical member of the family, but I think Kane's kind of like a bit avoided of that recently from what's kind of happened. So I don't know if they're kind of willing to invoke that particular investigation currently, and that would kind of be Kane's really only contribution to figuring out stuff.
I mean, does Kane come from like and Stavro come from like a like an aristocratic family, right?
I don't know if they mentioned that.
Yeah, I think it's more that they come from like a Dagger Islander, not official Leviathan hunter family. Isn't that right? Like, and the family was trying
one
to.
of the big shot families.
Yeah, you were trying to like
definitely
buy into it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we have any leverage power there, and even if we did, that would be Stavros' point of call.
Yeah.
Not
Fair
me.
enough.
So yeah, I'm kind of out of ideas of what Kane can do specifically, unless it's like directly assisting you.
I mean, are there like ghosts we could hit up and be like, "Hey, tell us what the deal is"?
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of like actually something that Seneca would do.
Yeah, fair enough. That's all good. I mean, we don't all have to do something, you know. Like, we don't even have to gather information. I'm just hoping to kind of get an in here.
So unless you need me as just extra hands, I'll set this one out. Okay.
Okay. No worries.
It just dawned on me now that Alex said that. That is something that Narek should do.
I mean, like, yeah, you like, you would have those contacts most likely available to you. And since I kind of resist that whole, like, possessing thing, I'm not really about to hit anyone up that's like...
I'm drawn to it now specifically because it's also the kind of thing that Narek should do in front of Kane. But I've already made my bed, so I'm gonna go back to the brothel.
I also think that's an equally valid decision.
Oh yeah, trying to invoke some like super ancient ghosts in the Dunville families. It's pretty risky.
It could go badly.
It could go very badly. Yeah. But Melody, you were gonna say something?
Oh no, that's all good. I mean, like, I've got an idea for what I'll do, but Brandon might as well roll and sort that out first.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. So, so this is a. What kind of test would this be? So let's have a look at Seneca. So you're trying to schmooze with. You're trying to mark a customer. So I guess first we need to do a fortune roll to see if you get a good customer or not, right? Like, because whilst Seneca / Nyrix is, well, I mean, this is an interesting point. Who are you in the brothel?
I mean, Nyrix is just like another escort, but she's one of the highest requested among them.
Sure.
She's not like she's not like number one, but like she's up there.
I just realized, do they know that Nyrix is a ghost?
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that, yeah.
If so, are you showing up as Seneca?
Yeah.
That
And just pretending
Just
like,
the
hey, this is me, Nyrix.
because here's the thing, because I've been thinking about this for a while. Because now you've actually made things so much more complicated that I actually have to think about the fact that Nyrix is in Seneca's body.
Well, we made this complicated. You're the one who possessed your like best customer. Okay, so step off, Brandon.
One, Seneca is a frequenter of this.
I thought that was just gonna be Seneca is a freak.
I mean that too.
Also,
But like, I literally imagine Seneca is there maybe 3 times a week. So that's one. Two, I think that some of Nyrix's friends in that brothel know that she's a ghost. Some of them might also even be ghosts. But that brothel's madam does not know.
That is pretty complicated.
So I've done goofed.
This is fine.
I think there's still some leverage in the fact that because some people do know and they might potentially be ghosts, you still have a bit to work with there. In terms of information gathering, you could do a fortune potentially on like information they've gathered from their own clients, and you know they happen to be the right type of clients to gather the information from.
Yeah, and Seneca can still theoretically, like, specifically mark one of the other customers. She just can't get caught because she's not supposed to be working there.
I like that adds an element of risk to that too.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a fortune roll then to see what kind of clientele you. Actually, is this? I think that this is actually just a normal roll, because this is actually like something that's risky, and you're not essentially, because what you need to do, success here looks like you find someone who will know this information and you'll be able to wheedle this information out of. So yeah, I think this is just a straight normal roll. In which case, I think it's a sway most likely, because we can wrap this all into one and say this is you finding a mark and then like compromising them. If that makes sense to you.
It does.
Okay.
Too, so.
Yeah. So yeah, that sounds like a sway to me. Or is it a consort?
I don't think it. Again, complications. Because Nyrix is involved, I think it should be a consort. But I think that it's a sway because Nyrix knows that she's acting in Seneca's body.
Okay.
So she has to like make an extra effort at this point to essentially not be Nyrix.
Yeah, there's a weird kind of like double deception going on, because you're trying to pretend to be Seneca to get into the building and then kind of trying to be Nyrix as well by actually doing Nyrix's job as Seneca. What the hell kind of game have we made here? This is...
I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. I am enjoying this a lot.
All right. Sway it is. Okay, so straight off the bat, this is pretty desperate, right? Like you're trying to wheedle. There's two sources of risk here. There's you doing a job that you're not supposed to be doing, and there's also the risk involved in trying to hit up a client of not necessarily high profile, but someone at least connected to the people you're trying to infiltrate right now. So there's plenty of opportunity for this to go wrong. Is it desperate?
I think it's desperate.
Yeah.
Are there, like, is there position and effect for gather information rules generally? I thought
So-
because it was a downtime roll,
Yeah.
it just kind of happens.
So this we're not going to do as a fortune
okay,
roll,
right.
yeah,
Oh,
or
okay.
as gathered information. This is like an actual
It's
setup.
an action
a
in
setup.
free time kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll count this as a setup action, and depending on how well it goes, this will give you the information to then build your actual score. Because we're still in the score phase, because this is a
Yeah.
linked score, so any stress that you generate here will just carry on to what you're doing next.
Okay.
So I think it's desperate, and I think that it's standard effect. There's nothing that particularly puts you in place to have like an outstanding result here.
This will be fun.
Yeah, it's standard.
Do you want to push yourself?
I do want to push myself.
I thought of a devil's bargain. If you want to take that instead of your pushing yourself.
Do I? Let me hear it.
Okay. Devil's bargain is that the person who comes into the brothel is Master Slain. So
Wait a minute.
Sorry, I'm just gonna.
that was enough for Alex. Alex is done with this.
You know what? You know what?
I'm gonna take it. Are you gonna take it, are you?
It's too much of a bad idea not to take it.
So fun.
It's very good devil's bargain.
It's so fun.
Okay, mechanical question. Can I do both?
No. It's one or the other, unfortunately.
I'm gonna do the thing, you guys. This is bad.
Hey, look, you might actually just solve our entire series of missions in this one scene. That could happen, theoretically.
That is possible, yeah.
Or it could go so horribly wrong that he remembers who you are specifically
Yeah.
and finds out that you're linked to us. We're in a lot of shit.
To be fair, if he remembers you and you don't know that leads to so many good flirting opportunities. I've done that in a game before, and it's flirting gold.
Luke is absolutely right in the chat. You can push yourself to get increased effect. So you could push yourself to get great effect here, but you just can't push yourself to get an additional bonus die. You can only get one from either.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I wanna ruin Slane's whole life.
And do remember your special ability, your mesmerism ability.
Oh yes, I do definitely remember that. Because you'll have to let me know if that's how that works. But my intention is generally, regardless of how this goes, I do not want him to remember that. Well, do I? If it goes particularly well, I probably want him to remember. Probably definitely want him to remember. But we'll see how that goes.
Remember that he had a good time, but not necessarily.
Exactly. Well, I want him to remember he had a good time with me. But, so that's one bonus die. And let's do the thing.
Hey!
Okay.
Nice.
All right, that happened. Good.
Okay.
Because those ones gave me a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I looked over and was like, "What?" And then
Okay. So, as Luke suggested, I definitely think that the great effect here, what that does is... So, okay. So, we see Master Slain come into the brothel, and we haven't seen Master Slain on camera yet. He's a a sort of like slightly below average height, slightly later than middle-aged man. He's got that kind of that hair which was evidently once lovely and thick and black curling, sort of like, those loose black curls. It's definitely thinning now. He wears a one of those kind of like 30s era, very very tight suits with the three-piece suit. He's not got his jacket on at the moment. A white linen shirt and like a herringbone tweed. He looks very well made up. And he walks with a slight limp, as if he would normally carry a cane. But when he enters the room, he's evidently like left his cane and jacket at the front desk. So comes in with this slight limp. And he has a slightly olive complexion. And he speaks in this sort of like half wheezing voice, as if something like, it's probably because he's put in so much time around the factories that have just kind of fucked his lungs up. Not that he's, done much of the work himself, but he has spent a lot of his life hanging around those sorts of areas. And he comes in and what does it look like? Well, not necessarily what does it look like, but what's cynical? What do you do to lead him into some sort of compromising position? And because it's great effect, you succeeded to the point where I'm going to give you an additional tick on the dig up dirt on slain clock here. So straight away, we're going to have one more tick over to the point where, like, just based on what you're able to get him to do here, that is scandalous enough that, whilst it's not scandalous enough that you can write like a whole paper on that, you can slip it in and it will turn public opinion enough that they will be more willing to accept whatever bullshit you actually do write about him. So it's just enough. It's just like little bits that are added to the whole story people won't be keen on. So yeah, what does this look like?
So, things. I think that my opening move, because I think I know, at least I think most people know enough about Slane to know he walks with a cane. And I think that Nyrix would know that he would have to leave it at the door.
Mm.
So it's very easy to play like any kind of clumsiness trick at this point. So I think she, well, first I think she shows up in like a white dress with red accents, very very deep cleavage. Obviously the kind of fabric that once it gets just the slightest bit wet, you can see right through it. And there's
Right.
nothing underneath.
Okay. All right, Seneca.
And she's just like waiting by the bar, just like nodding, getting his attention very like unassumingly, and waiting specifically for him to buy a drink.
Okay, yeah, he does, and he would come over to you, because you succeeded. Well, or like, I mean, he would come over to you if that's what you sort of lead him into, unless you want to go up to him.
I want to go up to him.
Okay.
Because my intention is like deliberately. I'm walking up to him, and he knows that I'm looking right at him. And I imagine this pleases him greatly. But like as we start getting a little bit closer, I seem to get somebody else's attention, and I'm walking past him. And my intention in this moment is that he's like so distracted and caught off guard that he like stumbles into me, which is really just me stumbling into him, but he doesn't know that. And he spills his drink all over my dress. And like I seem like just mildly upset, like, oh god, jeez, my whole wow. And then I like just lean into him gently and whisper, "You should help me clean this up."
I love that every time this happens, you're so anime. It's beautiful. So anime. I love it.
For the episode. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So we obviously won't play out the whole scene. But that works, right? Like, so that's way more than enough to get him kind of flustered and already like on the back foot, right? Because he kind of feels bad about what he has done because he spilled his drink, but he's also, you know, he's a bit of an asshole. So there would be that kind of expectation that, you know, you're one of the workers here, he spilled his drink, you know, he's going to get something back out of this. And he probably doesn't even realize how masterful of a play that was until we, like, you know, flash forward quite a bit of time, and he's now already compromised. Like, so what does he look like when you've worked him over and you're about to get the information out of him?
What exactly do you mean?
Well, so you've now taken him back to whatever room you've got, and you have gotten him into a enough of a compromised position that he's going to spill all of the information about where the Dunville Company have their offices and how you would potentially get inside and stuff like that. So what have you done to squeeze him to get this information out of him? And what does he look like as a result of that? Like, is he... did you like, you know...
Use the word.
Well, you know. Okay, did you sleep with him, and is he bragging? Like, is he lying next to you bragging on a pillow, or did you like really shame and degrade him in some way, and now he's like pleading with you, being like, you know, don't tell anyone. I'll you know, tell you whatever you want, and then, you know, spill you kind of extort that information. What does this look like?
What I think it looks like, because I think Slane just likes talking. So like, once put in a position where he can get something that he wants, I think he just naturally just starts opening up. So, like, I don't even think we actually start having sex at the point where he tells me almost everything that I need to know.
Okay.
Of course, like, I'm being a dom in this position because he's already like terribly embarrassed that he ruined my dress, but also because like that was
Yeah.
part of the play.
Yeah.
Like the whole time the game was, once I threw him off guard, he would just like lean into sub, and it would just be easy to get everything else that I need. Especially because he can see right through my dress, and we're not having sex yet, and I think that frustrates him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
I get what you mean.
I'll tell you anything. I will do anything in this moment. Please, oh God, please. And that's essentially how I get everything.
Okay.
I
Okay.
also know that I embarrass him here with something, but I don't know what.
embarrassing enough to keep him quiet. He doesn't want to ever share this, that he had this exchange with you.
Yeah, something not only that I know he can't go back and tell anybody else what happened here because he knows that I have it, but I also have it specifically to put it in the paper at some point in the future. So like that nail in the coffin, but I don't want it to be like, I'm not gonna kink shame him. It's just I just need to know what that other thing is.
Does he perhaps promise you some sort of prized possession? Do you wiggle that out of him? So after the compromised position, you have that as leverage?
That sounds interesting, but what is that? I mean, if it's a piece of land that he shouldn't have the ability to give to somebody else, like if it's not wholly his, or if it's not his at all, but he's just like legally giving it to me.
Yeah. Okay. No. Perfect. Okay. So, so it's not a piece of land that he gives you, but you somehow like trap him in a point where he's trying to like brag about things and brag about why why he's so great, and why even though he spilled a drink on you and stuff like that, you're just as lucky to be in this situation as him. And part of that is he takes off a ring and hands it to you, and says he tells you that this is a ring that he himself dragged this wealth up from the Lost District. And he starts like spinning this tale about how much like he is a very successful man. He's a very great figure. And even though his name already means so much in the city, it's going to mean so much more because he's able to claw this kind of thing by himself. And to a person who isn't a ghost, this is probably not that like remarkable. Like, he drew it out of the Lost District, which is part of the old city, which is now outside the lightning barriers and has turned to nothing, right? It's just this empty, haunted landscape where people don't go except for scavengers. But the implication there is that he has smuggled himself out at some point in time, and he's plumbing around in land that technically belongs to old families in Doskvol, which does not include him, and he has apparently been doing things that are very wrong, that he shouldn't be doing. You don't know the exact specifics of it, but this is enough, and like you have the ring now. This is enough to pin that whatever he's been doing is illegal shit, and he definitely doesn't want that information to get out, and now pretty much regrets having done that. Does that fit?
I think that fits.
Beautiful. Okay. So as part of that, as part of your extorting him, he does tell you the main information that you are trying to wheedle out of him. So part of that is that he tells you, and this is like, this part is common enough knowledge, but he tells you that the officers of the Dunville Company are in Charter Hall. And I've popped Charter Hall now up on the stream. Charter Hall is like it was the last good place that was built in Doskvol before everything went to shit. And it is it's like the first major construction in Doskvol when it became a city instead of just this crap little coal mining colony. And it's massive, it's wealthy, it's incredibly safe and secure, and there's very little gang presence here. this is like the perfect place to do a like to have the offices of a big company, and a lot of the imperial government and the main guild halls and stuff like that are in Charter Hall. So he tells you all of that, and you are able to get out of him that they do a series of like the offices that you are going to need to infiltrate here. The place does a series of like kind of internships, right? Like they let in folks from middle and upper class families, like young folks from middle and upper class families, to get on the inside and sort of like learn the ropes as clerks. But they also open that up generally to the universities. So this, if you want to go that route, can also tie into why Stavral is not involved, because Stavral is your sponsor to get in there, right? Like, so Stavral is the teacher who has like signed all of your documentations that you can go on this this excursion and then sneak off and go into the back areas where you're not supposed to be, if that's what you want to do. But that is the information that Dunville gives you. And you can extrapolate from that as well that the kinds of paperwork that you would need to forge this information would be held in like pretty secure offices inside the office building. So there you go. I think we're going to go on break. We will go on break for about 10 minutes, and then we will be back for the second half. We will be going until about 10:30 AEST, and yeah, so we'll have about an hour and 15 minutes more of the session, and we will be back here at let's say 9:15 AEST. I'll just work that in. So that's that gives us just under 7 minutes. All right. See you all soon.